morning. I want to thank Archbishop Coakley for the invitation to be with you for breakfast this morning. What a fantastic view. I mean, to wake up and see the sun come up and celebrate Catholic education today. So thank you for the invitation. I'm delighted to be back in Oklahoma City and the home of Blessed Stanley Rother. That has been just the most fantastic story, and thank the Archdiocese for holding His Holiness before the entire church. We're very, very grateful to you all, and specifically Archbishop, thank you. I want to thank Jim Beckman, Executive Director for Evangelization Catechesis, and specifically Dr. Diane Floyd for your great hospitality while I'm here. So thank you so much. And thank you for all that you do behind the scenes for Catholic schools. As an educator, I have the wonderful opportunity to be with young people and young children. It is an ever-renewing experience. Their vantage point and view of things can be so refreshing. They keep you grounded and real. I remember I was observing one of the sisters in the class, one of the junior high classes, and this young boy wanted me to know how much they enjoyed Sister. And so in the middle of the observation, he raised his hand, he went, "Oh, Sister." He said, "You use the best examples. They make you seem smarter than you really are." We were very grateful to him. Sister got high marks that day. So I was also in visitation with our major superior at one of our schools in the East recently, and she's from Boston. So we happened to be there during the World Series, and so they asked her, what's your favorite team? And she said, of course, the Boston Red Sox. And anyway, then they asked her, who is your favorite football team? And so she comes out and she said, well, it's the Patriots. And everybody in the room went, "Ah! We thought you were holy." So anyway. So we have a big rivalry going on this weekend at the house. So this morning, I'd just like to hold up a few reflections on the nature and purpose of our Catholic schools. My shout out is to our principals, who I know, please know you're very much in our heart and minds. You're on the front lines. And also to our young people who are here today. As the video said so well, you're the future. You're the future not only of the church, but of the church's presence in the world. And so therefore, we look to you. We are looking to you for your leadership, your future leadership, and for your holiness, for your love of Jesus Christ. And so thank you for your presence here this morning. Bishop Robert Barron begins his wonderful book, Catholicism, with this question. What is the Catholic thing? What makes Catholicism, among all the competing philosophies, ideologies, and religions of the world, distinctive? Now, typically, or usually, Bishop Barron goes on to answer his own question. He states, the great principle of Catholicism is the incarnation, Jesus, the enfleshment of God. Bishop Barron describes this truth in a colorful way. The Word of God, Jesus, the mind by which the whole universe came to be, did not remain sequestered in heaven, but rather entered into the ordinary world of bodies, this grubby arena of history, this compromised and tear-stained human condition which is ours. The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. That is the Catholic thing. This uniquely Christian truth about the incarnation, about Jesus Christ, the God-man, is the fundamental Catholic starting and ending point. This truth is the light in the darkness. The incarnation creates the contours and colors of everything we do in the church, and that includes why and how we educate. Why Catholic schools? To understand the distinctive character of a Catholic education and thus Catholic schools, it is critical to see the work of the school as directly connected to the saving work of the church. What is the primary saving work of the church? Redemption, salvation, holiness. St. John proclaims it in the Gospel. Eternal life is this, to know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent. The work of Catholic schools is to introduce young people to the saving and redeeming person of Jesus Christ. The document, the Declaration on Catholic Education, published during the Second Vatican Council, says it this way: the proper function of our Catholic schools is to order the whole of human culture to the news of salvation, so that the knowledge the students gradually acquire of the world, life, and the human person is illumined by faith. It's a beautiful statement about our purpose. The church exists to make us holy, and everything the church does must be viewed from this purpose. The work of any organization connected to the Catholic Church, our parishes, schools, Catholic charities, the Altar Society, NET, is to prepare in our people this sense of redemption, salvation, and holiness. Its mission. So the natural question is, what does it mean to be holy? I was teaching in a class one day, and I was talking about holiness, and again, another bright young fellow in the back raises his hand, and he said, "Sister, it sounds very boring to me." I can't imagine spending my entire life just looking at someone. And I said to him, "Oh, contraire, my friend." I said, "I have noticed," I said, "I won't say who, but a certain glint in your eye when a certain young lady comes into the room." And it got really quiet in the room. And I said, "Imagine spending the entire rest of your life with that person." And he kind of just stared at me. I said, "That's what we're talking about when we talk about heaven. Being with someone we love forever." I said, "That, I assure you, is not boring." He got it. That's what we want to introduce to our young people. By holiness, we mean an intentional, real, and personal relationship with God and with our fellow human beings. It is at root a relationship of love. Holiness does not primarily mean personal asceticism or personal discipline. It does not mean just being good or a single focus on moral behavior. It does not mean just the obligation of ritual observance and attending Mass. It includes all of these and much more, but none of them are the sum total of holiness. In an address to Catholic educators in 1998, Cardinal Pilarczyk of Cincinnati said this: "Holiness means sharing the life of Christ with which we were gifted in baptism and which we were called to develop throughout the course of our individual life. Holiness means living in truth with and through Christ. It is a relationship which is given to us through the free gift of God. It is not something we can earn or deserve or acquire, but something to which we respond. The seriousness and the quality of that response are what determine the ultimate worth of a life, of our life. Holiness is not something we achieve through a saintly life, but something that is given to us by God and to which a saintly life is our answer." It's a magnificent concept of the relationship. A good human education, certainly a Catholic education, is about showing someone the path to holiness, how to live in right relationship with God and with our neighbor. The Latin word for educate, educare, means two things: to mold and train, but to lead forth. Through a specifically Catholic education, we lead young people toward the light, from the darkness of ignorance, of sin, of selfishness, of meaninglessness, which is a huge issue in our world right now, toward a life of truth, reality, knowledge, virtue, and self-giving. Walker Percy, the 20th century Catholic writer, wryly stated, "You can get all A's in school and still flunk life." That's from the Second Coming. In our postmodern world, the answer to the question about a good education, not all the time, but oftentimes, is to get into a good high school, to get into a good college, and which in turn will give you a good job, which in turn will generate wealth, and that will make you happy. Now, mind you, Catholic schools and Catholic school teachers are not opposed to those necessary and practical goals. A job that feeds your family and contributes to the common good of society are important drivers in education, and many of us wouldn't be here today without that focus. I get that. But many parents who invest in their children's education want to see a return on that investment. They want to be sure that their children don't flunk life. When pushed, what they really want to see is that their children are happy. So how does the Catholic education support both goals, holiness and happiness? Bishop Barron's reflection about what is the Catholic thing is really important here. The incarnation of God, Jesus become man, teaches us that God and man, human and divine, faith and reason, is critical to seeing the world and reality as God sees it. This integrated view of faith and life is a key to happiness and holiness. Not only did God come to share our life as God and man, but he showed us what that life should look like. Saint Irenaeus, bishop of the 4th century, said it this way: "The glory of God is man fully alive." It's a magnificent statement. We want our young people to know what it means to be fully human and fully alive. That means both human and faith development. The pursuit includes an integrated life, a life of virtue, a life of excellence, all of which helps our young people to be fully human and fully alive. Catholic schools strive to support parents and the faith community to help form young people in a Catholic worldview. It is what makes the school distinct. To accomplish this, the school community approaches the education of children and young people from an integrated Catholic worldview. The document on Catholic schools puts it this way: "She, the Church, establishes her own schools because she considers them as a privileged means of promoting the formation of the whole person. Since the school is the center in which a specific concept of the world, of man, and of history is developed and conveyed." Our school communities seek to reflect this distinctive Catholic worldview, which integrates faith and knowledge. In the Catholic school, by helping our students see and know God in what they learn and in each other, they hope to live their lives differently. We all do this within an intentional, rigorously academic school environment, which fosters human learning and growth, helps young people acquire basic social skills, prepares them to take their place in society. I was observing one of our sisters who was teaching science in all-girls high school in the East. I asked her, I said, "Sister, how do you approach the teaching of science?" Particularly, again, that's a big conversation going on right now. And she smiled and she looked at me and she said, "I begin my class by letting the girls know that creation is God's love letter to them. And I'm going to help them learn how to read the letter." That's a Catholic integrated worldview. We take the reality of the rigor of the science or the discipline and couple it with the beauty of who God is in giving us this gift of creation. It's unique in our setting right now. It's a wonderful opportunity. Integrated into the basic educational task and permeating every aspect of it is the orientation toward a mature life of faith. The commandments, the beatitudes, virtues, and the spiritual and corporal works of mercy. This introduction and orientation toward a mature spiritual life is supported by a rich liturgical and sacramental life, a life of personal prayer, teaching our young people to pray, to be silent, to be quiet in God's presence, a familiarity with the scriptures, intellectual and moral virtues, a recognition of the dignity of each human person, and a call to vocation and service. That's the environment we want to create for our young people. The church calls this a true education. The Declaration on Christian Education states, a true education aims at the formation of the human person in the pursuit of heaven and the common good of society, of which, as an adult member, he or she will participate and share. In order to achieve the aims of a true education, the church freely establishes schools that intentionally promote the gospel with the purpose of forming Christian men and women to know Christ, pursue truth, and live holy lives. This kind of education takes into account the entire person. And we've heard this so many times, but sometimes it's good to hear it in a different lens. Body and soul, mind, body, soul, and mind. And it reviews its entire educational program based on this: flourishing, fullness, and formation. It does not see education as just skills development, but as human person development. Thus, the orientation of a life centered on Jesus Christ is the measure of the quality of a Catholic school. A Catholic school is distinct in that it can actually attain a true education. It can achieve this goal. The late Francis Cardinal George, in a book published after his death called A Godly Humanism, makes the case for a truly integrated Catholic approach to education at all levels, pre-K through college. The Cardinal recognizes the reality of postmodern Enlightenment education, which is very fragmented, it's very specialized and relativistic, and it is burdened by a fundamental lack of true freedom of inquiry. The Cardinal says, in a Christian institution, first of all, religion provides an integrating vision so that the institution is not just a trade school, providing tools that individual students need in order to pursue a career. The Cardinal goes on to state, an educational institution may provide knowledge, professional skills, and learning in many fields, but a religiously based educational institution provides them within a context of a higher and unified vision of things that enable a student to govern his or her life by wisdom and virtue, not just to learn how to make a living. Cardinal George stated on numerous occasions that our Catholic schools are the only true free educational environments left in our country. He clearly did not mean free money. We are free to speak and to think about God. We are free to discuss and engage our students in topics of both temporal and eternal importance to their eternal welfare. In our schools, we do not have to pretend that God does not exist. We can engage our students in questions of ultimate meaning that include the question of faith and religion, of life after death, of God himself. We are free to pursue a complete and integrated vision of divine and human life. The examination of conscience for us as Catholic educators is whether we use that freedom. I think it's an important examination of conscience, particularly in our country at this time when that freedom is being punctured regularly. I had the wonderful opportunity to work on Capitol Hill for 6 years. And I will tell you, we need to fight for our rights, to educate our children the way that we believe is according to their makeup, the way God made them. So why is a Catholic education more important now than it has ever been? Well, I do not need to tell you that we are living in times that can produce confusion and darkness. And I'm going to tell you this little story, and it's on myself. I lived in Washington, D.C. for 6 years. I had the wonderful opportunity, and there's a great place up there, and it's called the Franciscan, I almost said University of Steubenville, I didn't mean that, the Franciscan Monastery. And you can go up there for confession on the hour. I used to love this. So I was in line one day at the monastery, and I went into confession. I was in confession, and all the lights in the monastery went out. And I was in a confessional. I mean, it was really dark. And the priest didn't say a word. It was like the lights had not gone out. So I finished my confession, and I was getting up to leave the confessional, and I became disoriented. And so you could hear me on the outside of the confessional banging on the box, okay? You could imagine everybody waiting in line, what they were thinking. But I couldn't get out of the confessional because I was so disoriented. And so I opened the door and literally fell out of the confessional. And there was 2 people in line, and I'm on the floor, and I looked up and I said, well, you're next. And this girl's look on her face is just pure panic. I said, no, he's very nice man. The net effect of that experience is that I could not see. I could not see my choices. I couldn't see where to get the knob. I couldn't see the simple things. I went the wrong direction, and I could not get out of the confessional. With some people, that would be a horror story, but that was just, Deep darkness disorients us, any of us. It can change our course, affect our decisions, and at times it can irreparably harm us. We can experience different types of darkness in life. Physical darkness, intellectual darkness, moral darkness, and emotional darkness. All have the same effect on our decisions, change our course, and it can harm us. We are seeing confusion in our civil society and in the present abuse crisis in the church. The stakes could not be higher for our young people. A good Catholic school is a partner with our young people and parents and the entire Catholic community in showing them the beauty of a fully integrated vision of life, of academic excellence, of faith, and of holiness. This is no easy task. Our schools should be an antidote to the fragmentation of contemporary life. Catholic schools are not intended to be ends in themselves, but in partnership with the family and with the church, in communion, in helping the next generation of our young people come to the full knowledge of God and what it means to be a Catholic Christian in our modern age. As primary educators of their children, parents should see in our schools a partner in the mission of excellent academic education that is supported by the integration of an active and lively faith. This means our schools have priorities that are different from other schools, such as the liturgy and sacraments, religious instruction, time for prayer, the development of a life of virtue that respects the child as one who is able to know right from wrong. Be responsible for his or her own behavior and respect the neighbor. Given our world right now, this partnership and this approach to an integrated and complete education is needed now more than it has ever been before. This approach to education is a service to the civilizing influence of mankind and to the critically important dialogue between religion and culture, faith and reason. So what is our role in accomplishing the goals of a Catholic education? By virtue of our baptism, all of us sitting here today are what the Holy Father refers to in his apostolic exhortation, Evangelio Gaudium, as missionary disciples. Every baptized Christian is a missionary disciple to the extent that he or she has encountered the love of Jesus Christ. Pope Francis reminds us that we are sent out, called to go forth with the joy of the message of Jesus Christ. I hope that all communities will devote the necessary effort in advancing along the path of pastoral and missionary conversion, which cannot leave things as they presently are. Mere administration can no longer be enough. Throughout the world, let us be permanently in a state of mission. Our young people need good, positive, mature, and healthy role models in life. All of us play that role in educating them about faith, life, the common good, virtues of citizenship and vocation. How you love them, how you speak with them, how you help them to practice virtue, how you recognize the enormous obstacles that they have to overcome in their daily lives matters immensely. Bringing the love of Jesus Christ into their daily lives, in you, through you, with you, to the community is the most important thing we do each day. Archbishop Coakley's work with the Archdiocesan Strategic Plan, Vision 2030, missionary discipleship, and his strong support of the 22 Catholic schools in the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City sets the tone for success based on evangelization and missionary discipleship. It sets the tone on the formation of the human person in the context of family and faith. You are fortunate in his leadership. Those schools with clear Catholic identity, good visionary leadership, supportive parish and parental communities, and a quality academic program have a positive future. We do not need Catholic schools that look like the private or public school down the street. We need Catholic schools that help our young people aim for happiness and holiness through a life of service and faith. St. Catherine of Siena, a Dominican, said, if you are what you should be, you will set the world on fire. We want our young people to be human persons fully alive. We want them to be who God intends them to be. Our Catholic schools are partners in this mission. We hope our young people learn to be happy and holy, and in so doing, they set our world on fire. God bless you and thank you.